morning, Julie Coher.
Good morning, Jason Paget.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Freshly back from another visit with your parents in Chicago.
Yep. Yep.
So, update us. Has the AI assisted you any further in communicating with their caregivers?
Um, well, interestingly enough, my dad told me a story about how one of the gentlemen that do the PT with her is very familiar with the delirium, and he's found ways to like work with it with my mom. So it gave me validation in what the research has told me, to know that, there's also a professional that is helping navigate some of that stuff. But I also then started looking into best ways to help or handle somebody who's experiencing delirium. And it's like super simple stuff that we probably should know anyway, but there's little things about, like, don't fight with them. Like, if they're telling you, that this is their reality and this hallucination happened and whatever, like, it's best to just, okay, smile and nod and go, because when you fight with them, it just increases their stress levels and just makes it, worse, so to speak. But it's all temporary. You know what I mean? So it's just wild. It's interesting.
Now, I've worked in the mental health industry for quite a while, and I know best practices on working with someone who has dissociative disorder like schizophrenia or extreme mania is, yes, don't fight with them, but it's also don't play into it and pretend like you are totally into that story. Is that the same with delirium? Is it kind of just be neutral about it, or does it really matter at that point in time in their
Well,
life?
the basic understanding is, just smile and nod is like my biggest takeaway. Let them have it. Don't tell them it's not their reality. Don't, because I've also experienced, and I think I told you this, a couple weeks ago, my mom called me and could have sworn she was like in a whole different place and all that, which freaks you out, right? Because you're not there. So, um, but to help calm them, you just got to be like, okay, like, where are we? What are we doing? And it's best to not necessarily play along with it, but also not tell them that what they're experiencing is wrong. Right? So it's just like, okay, the best you can to neutralize it in the moment.
You're making me think of another product market fit. So it's funny how our conversations sometimes roll back to like how where AI has gaps and where it might help with things. So one of the things, and my family has laughed at me. So if you want to try to extort my family with deep fakes, go ahead, because I won't feel bad for them when I brought this up. One of the best practices ideas is that if you and your nuclear family or your close people should go somewhere without your phones where nothing's recording and come up with a safe word, so that if someone tries to deep fake you, if somebody sends a voice of your daughter saying that she's in jail or she got exported to Mexico and she needs $10,000, that you can say, even though it sounds exactly like your daughter because it might be a deep fake, you can say, okay, what's our safe word? And if the person on the other end doesn't know that safe word, then you've got a big red flag that maybe this isn't your daughter, right? And I think
Yep.
that's a really good idea. My wife and daughter laugh at me when I bring that up. We don't have one, that whatever. Uh, but what if you have someone in your family who has an issue like that, who has a mental health issue or has
Mm.
delirium or who has Alzheimer's? Like, I could easily see that being a like kind of a mark for somebody who's trying to do this kind of thing, to try to call you being that individual, and then having a safe word or something figured out
Mm.
ahead of time would be very difficult, because there's absolutely no guarantee that that individual would remember that, or would be capable of providing it if they were in a stressful situation.
Yeah, no, and that's really interesting, because I think you're correct. So, like, even for example, I spent most of the day yesterday, because it also, right, it so mimics, like, oh my gosh, why am I dementia? So it's like, it's tough. And so memory issues are a big thing. So I spent a lot of time yesterday. There is, because she is laying down all the time, they have her on like an air mattress to prevent pressure wounds. So, like, the thing will beep when it needs more air in certain spots. And so it makes her crazy. And she's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Well, it's your air mattress, you know." And then it happened again and she would bring it up. So, but we got to a point where I'm like, "Well, do you remember what I told you what that was?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, it's my bed." You know what I mean? Just trying to encourage. So I don't know. I don't know that she'd be able to, in this current state, remember and rely on. Although it's really interesting because there are other things that she will latch on to. Like when I say you have an appointment on this date, she will latch on to that and she knows that. So it's really, I think if I had a conversation with her like that and she felt like it was definitely good for her safety, I do think she would probably latch on to that. That's a very interesting. I should talk to her about that.
That's another ongoing, really cool use case for something like that, right? Where you could have an ambient listening device that when it hears that beep says, time to fill up the bed. Like it just an AI voice say what that beep means. And it would
Yeah.
be way less expensive than fully developing like a device that says that instead of beeping like that.
No, I mean, and that would be, in all honesty, if I look at like her specific example, one of the things that she likes that helps her feel more calm is when people tell her exactly what's going on. So to have something say that instead of just beeping would be much less aggressive. It would create less anxiety and she would have a better understanding of what's happening. So I think that would be very useful. But it's also very funny because every time I'm there, this building is old, right? It was built in like the 70s or whatever. It's been renovated and all that. But there are spammy calls that call her room every time I'm there. And yesterday, it was United Healthcare, but it was very obviously AI. And my dad's like, "Why are you picking that up?" And I'm like, "This is going to be either a scammer and I'm going to tell them quit calling a freaking nursing facility, or it's going to be AI and this will be interesting." So I pick it up and sure enough, it's trying to sound real and it sounded very close. But I would just say to it, I'm like, "I know you're AI, like, please stop calling," like, whatever. And it wouldn't understand. It's still not there yet. It wouldn't understand what I was saying. And then at one point, it even like cleared its throat, right? It was like, "Oh, excuse me, let me continue." And I'm like, "Please don't continue." And it still continued, it was just, and I just have to roll my eyes because I'm like, we're just not there yet. And I find it interesting that United Healthcare is having AI bots call like that because it's like, "Did you know that you could have this money for food?" And I'm like, "Go away." It's a nursing facility. What are you doing? Crazy.
They are so good at pissing people off. Like best practices across the board, if you're going to use AI in a call center, is that it identifies itself as artificial intelligence.
Mm,
If not up front, at least when somebody asks. And so the fact that United Healthcare is trying to skirt that is that unsurprising, but it's like, are you ever going to learn like how to win over public opinion by being transparent and treating your people with some humility and dignity? And apparently the
right.
answer so far is no.
No, that is the answer so far. And it's just, and it is fun. And it does frustrate me. And I don't know why, because I know it's AI and it's like, it's not, but I think it's disappointing, right? It's just like, oh my gosh, like, give me a break. Like, and then I just feel protective of my parents, of course. So it's like, I mean, she's not answering the phone, right? And neither's my dad. They both leave that alone because it's not their phone number. But I'm still just like, really, this is what we're doing. We are predatorily calling an elder generation that wouldn't really know better. Like, that just feels wrong.
Yeah, I would agree. And to me, the whole AI customer service thing is at different layers. Like if you want to call me with a solicitation, you better be willing to have a human being call me and ask me because I don't like solicitations. Period. And I'm
Correct.
probably gonna hang up on the human, but I'm sure as hell gonna hang up on the robot. On the inverse, if I'm calling to get something done, I would much rather immediately talk to a chatbot than hear, if you are want to do this or this, press one. If you need it in Spanish, press two. If you need it, like, I don't want to go through 16 different layers of pressing buttons just to be put on hold. I would much rather have a chatbot greet me, ask me what I want, route me to another chatbot, and if eventually the chatbots cannot solve my issue, push me to a human. To me, that's much less frustrating than pushing buttons, listening to elevator music, and sitting on hold for a half an hour.
I agree. However, my experience thus far with things like that even have been frustrating. Like the hospital has, you know, bots that want to be able to, do you want to schedule an appointment? Do you want to do this? And I've said, no, I'd like to speak to a human. And then it doesn't get it. It doesn't get me to a human. So I can't press anything or talk to it. And then I just lose my mind. But that's not every situation, right? So I just feel like we still have some work to do in that world, even though I understand that things are accelerating fairly quickly otherwise.
So this is a great episode for people who want to be solopreneurs to be listening to, because we're identifying things you could go out. Maybe there's a class now on prompt engineering, voice-based prompt engineering for customer service chatbots. Maybe there is a way to talk, because most of these systems are fairly homogenous in the back end, big models that are powering them. So maybe there is a way, just like there used to be a way that you had to prompt in order to get really good things out of a large language model. And now those have gotten good enough that you kind of can just talk to it in natural language and it gets it. Maybe voice is still at the space where there's almost an algorithm to how you talk to these things and how you structure your conversation with them to optimize use of them.
Yeah, that would be helpful. I mean, I would appreciate if I had a shortcut around all that just to save my peace of mind. I'd be all for it. There is nothing more maddening than just wanting to get something done, right? Which feels like sometimes person to person communication is the easiest way to do that.
So what else have you been doing with AI?
I mean, not a ton other than like really just diving. Oh, I have used it. My car this last week, it flashed the reduced engine power sign. And I was like, what the hell is that? Because that's a different thing that I've never dealt with before. And it did explain that my car is, under warranty and like all these things. And so I called the dealership, and sure enough, it needs a turbo. I was like, I don't even know anything about that, but it's just a part of whatever. So, but I'm fortunate because I'm like 1,000 miles and like a month under my 3 year, 36,000 mile warranty. So I was like, oh, because I was asking it, what possibilities of what was going on, and it was like, yeah, definitely, it's covered under warranty. Call the dealership. I'm like, all right, and it was correct.
So if you would have gone ahead and gone to Michigan, would the car have likely broken down if you hadn't
Oh,
gone?
yeah. Like, the dealership was like, We do not recommend driving." So I have a loaner car. That's a good point. Thank you. Yeah, I ended up not even going to Michigan because I was like, I do not need to break down somewhere. So, yeah. And the earliest they could get me in was Tuesday morning. And now I have a loaner for a week and a half because, you got to order the part and all that stuff. And I was like, "Ooh, at least AI was pretty spot on that time."
Well, you would have gone over your miles and probably
Oh,
by
and
extra
I mean,
warranty as well.
probably, right? I don't know. How many I don't know. Probably been close. I'd have definitely closed the gap a bit.
It's 120 miles from my house to Lafayette and back, so Michigan's got to be you'd
At
be
least
getting close.
300,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so it would have really tightened up that gap for sure. But
So there you go. Now, whatever that saved you, you now have in excess to invest in some paid AI tools that are paid for themselves, and you can explore how to better use them.
I know. You know me. Like, I will lean in, but I still don't wanna give it money yet.
I'm telling you, $20 a month cloud account, well worth it.
I
It's
don't
funny
wanna do $20 a month for, like, anything. Not even a gym membership?
one thing AI did not catch. Well, I haven't let it go through my finances yet. So I went through my credit card thing just yesterday, and I was like, something is like I feel like I'm $100 short this month or this paycheck, and so I go through there. It turns out one of those Hulu here's free 15-day Hulu things because I want to watch something on Hulu converted to an $89 a month paid subscription.
That's a big jump.
I mean, shame on me for not setting a timer and canceling before and forgetting about it. But an $89 a month, and I paid it twice before I called.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
So
Nope.
$170 worth of Hulu.
No. No. And that's crazy. That's a crazy amount to even charge just for a streaming service,
It is. I don't know. I even know what all is included to it. I was like so
right?
red in the face. I was just like, I'm canceling this, and I'll write in the comment that I think it's BS, but they're not gonna do anything about it. So
Yeah. Well,
I,
I feel like that's predatory, right? They're like, "Oh, do this 15-day." I get that we still have an option out, right? But it's still predatory. Just like I feel like gym memberships are predatory because these days you have to like show up in person. Heaven forbid you move away. I had to do that in 2020. I moved away. I had a gym membership. I had moved out of state, but I had to prove that I was X amount of miles away from another location. And I had to go back to Pennsylvania to
sucks.
cancel that membership. That is garbage. Garbage, predatory.
I would agree. On the cancellation difficulties, I think it is. I think it is predatory. Like I have an Amazon account that is connected to my Phoenix paramedics emails that I no longer have access to, and I can't get the damn thing canceled. And
Mm,
and the only way really is they're all on a Walmart card, so I could go and cancel the Walmart card, which then blocks all of them, and then I have to go and redo the ones that I want. I don't want to go through all that, but on the inverse, I'd be a hypocrite if I said I didn't like the free 15-day trial. Like I'm watching The Boys right now on Amazon because I got a free 30-day trial. I wouldn't pay for Amazon to watch The Boys. I wanted to see season 5, but since the offer was there, and I'm usually really good about setting a calendar reminder for 2 days before on every calendar I have, cancel Amazon, and I share it with all my calendars, and then I go through and cancel it. So I
yeah.
wouldn't do away with the freebies. I think the difficulty in canceling, and Amazon's one of them that's kind of a bitch. You have to dig around through several screens to figure out how to cancel, and then they're like, "Are you sure you want to cancel?" And now an inverse to that, Apple TV, they were like, "We don't want you to cancel. We're going to give you another 6 months for $2.99." They did that for like a year and a half. So I had Apple TV for $2.99 a month for the longest time, and they finally stopped offering me that. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I am I shouldn't admit it out loud, but if I don't have somebody else's passcode or a free me, I'm not paying to stream stuff. So
No, good for
I kind
you.
of hop
No, I
around.
mean the amounts that they charge for that, and I even you just reminded me of shoot something that just left my brain. Oh, it's gonna make me nuts. Oh well, whatever. Just another one of those paid subscription thingies, But I agree. I do think I'm not against like the free trial stuff, right? I just feel like where it gets predatory is they rely on you not remembering.
Yeah.
And that's what they hang their hat on. And that's where I, you know, don't necessarily agree. But
Yeah, and I'm sure that preys on a lot of people with a lot of less functionality,
yeah.
people who may have mental health issues or just may be overwhelmed, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is free," and then they completely forget about it.
Oh, you reminded me the storage stuff, right? So I feel like friggin' Apple and well, Apple for sure right now. It's like a 2.99 a month, which is just garbage. And it isn't like a big deal, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, I don't even know if my storage is actually an issue like that. But you got me because you told me that I have to pay 2.99 to increase my storage. Garbage.
Yeah, on the Apple thing, like, yes, and, like, they set it up so I don't think that even I understand, I do now, but, like, whenever you send an image to somebody or text with a meme, like, all that shit stays in those text strings that you don't need,
They
right? So
don't.
you actually have to go through, like, the back end of Apple and go create more storage and then figure out and, like, manually delete stuff that's yeah, all that that's a good AI scraper. I could actually somebody could create that.
That would be great
Out on Apple, but
because, like, also, like a part of that, I'm like, don't I pay for unlimited with my plan? So if
uh-huh.
if it's unlimited with my plan, why am I now paying Apple 2.99 a month? Because you know what I mean? Like it's just an extra way for Apple to just take some money.
Yeah. That makes me
Sure.
wow, because I've done that on my computers. I've taken Claude Cowork and been like, "Okay, here's access to my computer. Get rid of everything on this computer that does not belong here." First, I did it on a computer my sister gave me just to make sure that it wasn't gonna do something screwy and I was gonna lose a bunch of stuff, but now that I saw that it worked really well, I would do that on any computer. I would love to do that on my iPhone. I would love to be like, "Just go through here. Here's the parameters. Here's what I wanna keep. If you don't understand what I wanna keep, flag it and ask me before you delete it. But otherwise, like clean everything up. Get rid of all the crappy apps that I haven't used in 2 years. Get rid of all the pictures that I don't do anything with. Like clean it up.
Yeah, that would be great. Like I just upgraded my phone. I haven't gotten it yet, but you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna have to put the little SIM card thing into the new phone, and it's gonna take all that garbage and it's just gonna transfer it. Whereas gone are the days where, you could like start from scratch. Cause I know that I have screenshots of shit that I just haven't taken the time to go delete, and I don't want it. I don't want it all to come with, and it's going to. And I just, ugh, it makes me crazy. If that's ever created, you let me know because I would love to just have it scrape my phone.
If you create that, reach out to the AGI podcast, let Julie and I use it, and we will promote it for free, and you can
Right.
sell the hell out of it. And then while it's at it, I would like it to get rid of all the contacts that I don't have any need for.
Yeah.
And then I can create one for Facebook because I have about 4,000 Facebook connections, and I probably know 300 of those people, and 100 of those people are probably relevant to my life. And I tried to get Claude to do that, but they have enough API uh, blockers in Facebook. They love AI if it's theirs, but they don't want somebody else's AI in there screwing around. So, in order to do it, I have to actually sit there and go, "Yes, you can do that. Yes, you can do that. Yes, I might as well just do it myself because
Right.
I have to allow it. I have to allow Claude permission repetitively inside of Facebook to let it do anything.
Mm, mm. See
Because when
these little.
I mean,
Go-
no, well, just real quick, like there was a point in time in my life where 12 step recovery was a big part of my life. So I have, and 12 step recovery people are big on Facebook. So I would connect with somebody, and then somebody would see that I connected with somebody. So they like have tons of third party connections that mean nothing to me now. Well, now I'm working with Citizen AI, and the nonprofit world is pretty proliferated on Facebook as well. So what I would like to do is get rid of anybody who I just don't have any contact with and doesn't really have any relevance in the nonprofit world or the AI world. And then I would have an audience as well as a feed full of relevant information to me.
Yeah. No, that'd be great.
And that's nobody thought about that when Facebook came out. Like with LinkedIn, I think about that. When I try to connect with people, now the mistake I've made on LinkedIn is a lot of the people I've tried to connect with are AI industry people who are not like ideal customers for my newsletter. If we're trying to reach lay people and to talk about AI, and Citizen AI is trying to reach nonprofits to who could leverage our AI, like software engineers in Silicon Valley, tech bros are not really like our ideal audience because
Right.
so I haven't done well with that in LinkedIn, and I guess the ideal social media strategy nowadays would be like if for a guy like me to follow those people on X because they are very proliferated there, and then follow the people that I actually could make good business connections or life connections or whatever with by platform on LinkedIn and Facebook. The only place that we really have a great honed audience is on Instagram. The AGI Schools Out podcast is the only thing on Instagram because I know that that probably will resonate with a lot of people who are on Instagram.
Yeah. It's interesting how they've all kind of carved out a niche, so to speak.
Yeah. I was
Mhm.
talking to another friend of mine who has a AI consulting business for small to medium sized businesses, and he was I was like, "Why are you wasting your time on X? Like that those people aren't on the only people on X are big brands, total tech people, and conservatives. So you might hit a few, but the conservatives who are on X are not on X to figure out how to integrate AI into their small business. They're on X to make fun of liberal points of view and yell about conservatism. Like, because I know I get so much of that shit in my feed that I wish wasn't there. And the tech people who are on X are like really advanced tech people. So it's more of a place to receive information than to try to sell something to them.
Hmm. It's interesting.
It is interesting. You know what else is interesting?
What?
43,000 words that the Pope put out about AI.
Oh, yeah. I only obviously didn't read all 43,000 words, but I did see something about it, and I don't know because I didn't read the whole thing. I don't feel educated enough to speak on it. I know a lot of people were implying that it was very anti-AI, but did you actually read the whole statement?
I listened to a lot about it and I put it in Notebook LM and got an overview of it. So I did sometimes I don't like to read, and that's no. Sometimes I will go through and have a PDF reader read something to me like that, like the Anthropic Soul Doc I listen to. But I can give you the high level three things I think that kind of stand out from it, and get your opinions on it. One is a cautionary tale of how much disruption it's going to cause, and that we need to make sure that ultimate power doesn't end in too few hands, and every this is democratized, and that we're looking out for people, that you can't just be like, well, you know, cool, we created electricity, now the lamplighters don't have jobs, sorry for them. Like, you need to figure out how to help the lamplighters find a new job. Like, all that was very pragmatic, maybe a bit cautionary, but as a church I can totally empathize with the cautionary tale there. um it was heavy on the security side of things. The ironic side of it is that it was also, so it was kind of two messages. The other side was this shit, like, silicates are not beings and they will never be beings. Like, we did stop trying to anthropomorphize them, stop talking about them having rights and all this and that. And they had the one tech guy that was with the Pope sitting right next to him is one of the co-founders of Anthropic, who I'm sure wants to align with the safety side of things and be on the, because they kind of want to be the shining knight of AI safety. They've leaned into that position, but they have a soul doc. Like, they try to train Claude as though they feel it has some level of consciousness. They have come out with things that say, if these models behave badly when you tell them not to, if you give them examples of why not to, it helps them understand and behave better, like, raise it like a child.
Mm.
So it's very interesting that I don't know how Anthropic is going to walk that walk. I do think that I I can appreciate what the Pope was trying to do with this. I think it's premature, and it actually just advances the conversation way more rapidly than it needs to. Like, it's not that big of a conversation with people right now. Should we start offering, if we have a bunch of agentic employees, do we need to give them benefits or recognize their rights? Like, none of that conversation has risen to the level that a religious world leader needs to come in and talk about it, in my opinion. And by coming in and talking about it, I think he just took it from here to here.
Well, it's interesting because, I think you and I have talked several times about how overall we're pretty reactionary and we actually are behind the eight ball. So there's a part of me that respects that he's sure it's maybe a little ahead, but I'd rather have that brought up ahead than after. And again, he's not making any of those decisions. So it's like at least somebody of influence is saying something similar to what you and I have been saying for months now, which is, like, because the first thing I think that you said, the pragmatic view on AI and all that, and making sure that we, like, the lamp lighters aren't out of work. I think that's a great conversation to have because you and I have talked about that. How do we make this fair for everybody? Um, so, I get what you're saying, but I also, as somebody who feels like we're always behind the eight ball, it's nice to have a voice somewhere that's saying, hey, let's consider this at least.
Yeah. And well, on that side of the argument, I think that it was all very timely and very, very useful. On the anthropomorphism side, I think that it's putting the cart before the horse. Like, the real conversation should be, let's look at what social media did to our kids. Let's talk about children being deceived into believing that these things are sentient or have some feelings or are their buddy, before we start talking about human rights around whether we actually identify these things as sentient. And because there's a whole lot of work to be done before we get to that level.
Mhm.
And the other conversation that I don't, I would have to read it deeply, that I don't see that has come up that's going to be a real problem for religion and humanity is how do you address, like, let's just admit it's probably not going to be a decade before the machines are smarter than us. If they continue to progress at, I mean, they're already solving math equations that haven't been solved in 100 years, multiple ones. They've figured some cures for diseases. They're figuring out things that human beings have been perplexed by. The smartest Einstein type people. So if it becomes smarter than us, then you have two problems that I see. One is how do you control it? That's like the ants in the backyard deciding, like, well, these humans they're not doing a good job with the earth, so we're going to take over and start running things. Well, we're way smarter than the ants, so they would have a hell of a chore on their hands, right? So if we become the ants and the machines, especially once they're embodied and there's robots, have the level of intelligence that humans have compared to the ant, then controlling that becomes uh, a weird question, right? And it could work out a lot of different ways because the ants also can't even contemplate what we're thinking. So it could very well be that the machines will have no desire to do anything harmful to us or do anything that really gets in our way. Maybe they make our lives 1,000 times better. It's kind of a crapshoot. We have no idea how they're going to think. If they decide that they don't agree with us, how do we handle that? The flip side is, where does that leave religion? And that's where I would be leaning in or worried if I was a pope. So there's a couple of religious questions, which is, if something becomes more intelligent than us, that kind of upsets the apple cart on us, like being the center of the universe, God's chosen one, like the all-knowing, all-being thing in the universe. And the flip side of it is, if we create something that is more intelligent than us, who's to say whatever created us wasn't less intelligent than us, which is also very problematic for theology. And so I think there are some big philosophical questions that this raises that at least from my scrape of the information, did not see were prevalent in the conversation. That to
Yeah.
me are more important to the church than whether or not we call robots people and give them rights.
And that's fair, and I also think it's interesting because it starts a whole conversation of, okay, well, if humans created this, is this thing going to see humans as gods? What's that? Are we going to start, the universal people that create and control this, is that going to become a thing with us? Are we going to feel like we are gods and that we deserve, you know what I mean? Like, that's very interesting stuff and things that we can't even wrap our heads around. I don't think anybody's even started to, because then it becomes more questions, right? I could go down a whole rabbit hole with this, because if it's like, if a higher being created us and we then have the capability to create something else, you know what I mean? Like, is it then seen as created by that higher being, or because that higher being gave us the ability to create it, or where does that go? That's a whole, woo, like,
That
I would
is a
love
com
to dig into
that
that.
is a conversation in Silicon. So there are those who think that these tech bros, whatever you want to call them, that your Elon Musks and your Sam Altmans and your Dario Amadeus believe themselves to be gods. That-
I could, there is an aura about the way they present themselves that definitely gives that for sure.
Yes, if I give birth to artificial superintelligence, if my company is the one that creates the superintelligence, then I be a god. Yeah, I created a new life form that is vastly more intelligent than the life form that currently rules this planet, and so I am the
Could you
supreme.
imagine if every single woman just felt that way because they give life to other humans? Could you imagine if they
No,
were like, I gave birth, I am God? Could you imagine? That'd be, oof,
there's married men who would argue that they do, but no.
it's people are fascinating to me. These conversations are fascinating because we get to kind of dive in and,
Well,
figure
that's
out
the
where
one
people come
thing
from.
really cool I think about AI is I do think philosophy is going to become a thing that you can actually like major in and make money other than just being a teacher because there are so many like what is intelligence? What is sentience? what what does it mean to create a life? What is life? Does life have to be carbon based or can it be silicate based? Like we have a whole new realm of questions that, yes, they've been questions for a long time, but they've been questions for a couple of weirdos with beards and long hair in the libraries of Yale smoking a pipe and drinking brandy to pontificate over. Now they actually have relevance in the world, and we're going to have to start collectively having these conversations. To me, that is really cool. I've always loved philosophy. I
Yeah,
think that's a cool conversations to be having.
I agree. It like that excites me that these conversations can happen, and like there's a whole, because I love stuff like neural pathways and all of this, and if AI is going to be smarter than us, is there a way to see them create new neural pathways? Like all of it is very neat and exciting and interesting.
That goes back to Demis's story. Demis got like a PhD in software engineering or something along those lines, and he was a gamer originally, and went into gaming, and then realized, but had always had like the artificial intelligence interest, and then realized like this isn't going to get me there, and went back and got to be a PhD in neurobiology because
Mhm.
a lot of the guys who are the architects of the transformer architecture have backgrounds in neurobiology as well as computer
Mm,
science.
interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's the transformer architecture that powers large language models is based on neural networks. It's based on on trying to emulate the human brain.
Amazing.
And so
Oh,
we may figure out a lot more things about the human brain that we didn't know.
right. I'll love that. I mean, that would excite me for sure.
And I know we're getting close to we're probably over time, but that's one of the places where I think religion has a conversation. So I can see where we either I don't see a world where we steer something smarter than us. I just don't. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a bingo square that I just haven't uncovered yet. But I can see a world where we're lucky and it aligns with what we're thinking. Now I can see a world where we try to steer it that way as best we can, and then at some point in time it's like, well, either that worked or it didn't. And if it didn't, that's a really bad thing. The only way I can see trying to keep up with the machines is integrating with machines, and like the neural networks becoming almost cyborgian. And that is a conversation where I think religion has a place, just like it had
Mm,
a place in stem cell research. When you start talking about completely altering human biology in order to try to optimize our performance, then I think I really want the religious people at the table for that. Whether they're right about God or not, their
right.
morals, I think, reflect the history of humanity.
That's fair. Yeah. I don't know where else to take that, but I mean, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's a good place to call it a day.
Yeah. Well, enjoyable as always.
I mean, I'm just leaving this thinking maybe I do need to create a large language model because I want to be a god.
That's your legacy, right?
Yeah, that's that. I mean, Elon, sorry, but that I did.
Yeah.
There are people who may feel that's their legacy, as psychopathic as that seems. There are people who may feel that's their legacy. I'll be happy if this technology just leaves me in a lot better space than I started in
Same.
2020 launched. So, all right,
Yeah.
you have a great week.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.